From Jakarta, Indonesia.
Lawmakers seek to curb Chinese purchases of U.S. farmland, leaving up theater in Ukraine for normalcy. Chinese migrant woman swims across Rio Grande to Texas.
MLINE Top 3 Updates powered by VOA Voice of America.
Some U.S. lawmakers are urging legislation to curb sales of U.S. agricultural land to foreign entities, especially China. Of more than 100 countries with U.S. land investment, China ranks 18 in holdings, as VOA's Ken Faribault report. While concerns about China gobbling up U.S. farmland resound in Congress, experts say it is more a political issue than a practical one.
One of the United States' top producers of corn and soybeans is the state of Illinois, where Wendell Shawman farms land his family has owned for generations near the city of Galesburg. He says he's worried about Chinese investors purchasing farmland like his. From 2019 to 2020, companies with shareholders connected to China increased their overall U.S. land holdings by nearly 30%.
It's uncomfortable having your major competitor, an outfit that's shaking their sabers at you all the time, to be owning land here. That makes you a little nervous.
But Shawman admits he doesn't know any farms nearby connected to China.
I don't know of any in this area.
In Jacksonville, Illinois, Luke Worrell's company manages land transactions throughout the region.
In 15 years, I've never even had communication with an investment group that I've known to be Chinese.
He says most of the transactions he's involved with stay local.
In my 15-year career, I've never sold a farm to any international buyer.
Iowa Republican Senator Joni Ernst is among lawmakers calling Chinese ownership of American farms a threat.
If you add up all of the acres of Chinese-owned farmland, it is nearly the size of my home state of Iowa.
According to the U.S. Agriculture Department, Chinese-connected investors own less than 162,000 hectares of land in the U.S., only a fraction of which is farmland.
So China owns almost no farmland in the United States.
Bruce Sherrick is a professor of agricultural and consumer economics at the University of Illinois. Of millions of hectares of U.S. agricultural lands owned by foreign entities, Sherrick says Chinese ownership barely registers.
Less than 1%.
Recent efforts by Chinese-connected investors to buy land near military installations in Texas and North Dakota have fueled concerns about national security risks. But Sherrick says foreign-owned properties are typically managed or tended to by local entities, often American farmers.
I don't think it's super important to know who owns what, because the land that's producing things doesn't know who owns it. So I think as a matter of agricultural policy, it's probably not a very big deal.
Sherrick adds farmland remains an attractive investment for any potential buyer.
Very high average returns through time and very low systemic risks.
In Streator, Illinois, farmer David Iserman also doesn't know of any land near him owned by foreign investors.
It's kind of a non-issue.
While he'd prefer local ownership over Chinese investment, Iserman doesn't see a need for legislation limiting foreign land ownership. Wendell Shawman disagrees.
In rural America, I think there'll be a lot of support for this. Yeah, I just assume not have China coming in and throwing money around and who knows what, doing whatever else.
Beyond any action Congress might take, a number of state legislatures are also considering restricting foreign land ownership. Kane Fairbaugh, VOA News, Kirkwood, Illinois.
Thousands of Ukrainians fleeing the war found refuge in the small town of Uzhhorod in Ukraine. A local theater director decided to stage the Shakespearean play King Lear to help refugees find some normalcy during the war. They were surprised by what happened next.
Ukraine, March 2022. Uzhhorod train station. One after another, trains with evacuees roll in.
Train Poltava-Uzhhorod is arriving to track number 3. Train Kharkiv-Uzhhorod is arriving to track number 2.
Economist Nikita Markovsky also arrived in Uzhhorod on one of the trains.
I was born in Crimea, and when Russia annexed it, I moved to Kiev, and then it started again. Kiev was being shelled, so I moved to Uzhhorod. Why there? Because it's the safest place in Ukraine.
Local theater director Vyacheslav Yegorov worked at a shelter in Uzhgorod and decided on another way to help the incoming refugees. He decided to stage Shakespeare's King Lear and picked all the actors from among the displaced Ukrainians. The play was such a giant success that Ukrainian cinematographers made a documentary about it. And what's more, for Markovsky and his fellow amateur actors, salespeople, students, and engineers, being involved in a theater performance became a sort of therapy, says Polina Herman. She is the producer of the documentary King Lear: How We Searched for Love in Wartime.
Theater
helped them heal, helped them get through the trauma, because of course it was a shock for everyone. Many lost their homes in Bucha and Mariupol. They had nothing left. They lived in a shelter, having lost their home, their job, not knowing what to do, and then suddenly they stumble upon the theater and find something new, find a place for themselves.
I'm an English teacher by training. I taught at Lyceum number 3 in Irpin.
Ukrainian director Dmitro Hryshko's documentary made its debut at the Southeast European Film Festival in Los Angeles, California.
We had this year 57 films and 56 in competition, because this is an international film competition festival, and we cover 20 countries, so from Ukraine in the northeast, including Georgia, Armenia, and all of the greater Balkan area.
In addition to the documentary's reception, the play was so successful, the actors went on a tour across Ukraine.
We organized a tour throughout Ukraine. They got to go to Kyiv, and that made the actors so happy. They feel inspired. Art really heals. And this is what our documentary is about. We want to show what it means to be Ukrainian, that despite all the hardships, we don't give up.
After King Lear's success, the Uzhgorod Theater has already started working on other plays. For Angelina Bagdasaryan in Los Angeles, California, NRI's VOA News.
VOA China branch team witnessed a large group of migrants in Mexican border city of Matamoros. One Chinese female migrant was among them. She pulled out her waterproof bag from a blue suitcase and jumped into Rio Grande and started to swim across the river. She briefly answered our reporter question and said that she had left China a month ago but refused to give further information. With a local person help, the Chinese woman arrived on the U.S. side safely.
这是什么？这个包呀。这是你的东西是吗？这个就不要了。小心小心。大姐，你小心哦。你是走线过来的吗？是。是啊，你走了多久啊？我走了1个月。我们看到刚刚这个是一个来自中国的大姐，她现在一个人拿着一个小小的行李准备过河。她告诉我们，她是刚刚走线来到这里，她花了她1个月的时间。但是她现在看起来，她好像不是很会游泳。
The voice of America, VOA.
My name is Mirzawardana saying thank you for being with MLINE Top 3 Updates powered by VOA Voice of America. Until next time, bye-bye.
In New York, Rio, Tokyo, or any other place you see, you feel that dancing fantasy in New